Hardeep. We have Union Minister Hardeep Puri with us this morning at a time when I think very clearly everyone wants to hear what he has to say. So much happening on the global stage as far as crude is concerned, India's energy needs, and of course, coming at a time of bumper numbers, quarterly numbers coming in from HPCL and BPCL. So much to unpack, sir. First of all, thank you so much for your time on NDTV Profit and speaking to us today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with whether, like us in newsrooms, there is now a Trump tracker. Seeing what the US president is saying, and in his latest at Davos, talking about how he wants OPEC Plus to reduce prices, sanctions on Russia. Just your views on that as at the outset.
I can share my views and try and comment on what's happening in the world. But I want to start a little differently.
Okay.
You know, all of us, we have minds which are wired in a particular way. My mind is always wired to smell and detect the good news. So when you talk about Trump and tracking, I can tell you when he says that the US administration, and this was talk even before the celebration of democracy there, that US is going to remove all remaining restrictions, all the temporary halts that were put on production of gas and oil, etc., will be spoken or referred to in the past tense, and that he's calling on the other players, the major stakeholders in the global system, to lower oil prices. So that to me is good news, and I can also tell you that this fits into a pattern of analysis which we have for a long time believed in. It stems essentially from the fact that there is more than enough crude oil available in the world. Today, you cannot, in fact, talk about shortages. Today, you are talking about availability. Yeah. There is a fundamental difference between availability. Now, availability was artificially reduced from 102 million barrels a day to about 97 or so, okay? But meanwhile, what has happened after that artificial circumscribing of availability by you-know-who? There's more oil coming on it from the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear every day reports of first Brazil, they produce 3 million barrels, another 140,000 barrels is coming on stream. Canada, Guyana, Suriname, and now the United States.
No,
so there's more oil than is required. Now, will that bring price down or not? My submission to you is that even without this kind of heavy intervention, price of oil has to come down, because it's ultimately a question of demand and supply. The demand is not growing up that much. Those who are on the supply side of the game will tell you, demand bahut badh raha hai, demand bahut badh raha hai, you know, you better buy now, but buy long term. I don't think, where is the demand increase taking place? If you look at the state of the global economy, if you look at the levels of saturation, say in natural gas, take Europe as a case in point. The United States wants to sell more natural gas. There's more being sold by Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. By Mozambique, gas is coming on the market. So I think insofar as natural gas is concerned, come 2026, and I'm always being a little more cautious. It could happen even in 2025 towards the end. More than enough crude available, more than enough natural gas available. And what is the president saying? One must stop calling him president-elect, but he's now in office.
He's saying drill, baby, drill.
Well, drill, baby, drill is a catchy way of messaging that if you were held back by certain concerns, I'm not saying they were not valid. I mean, if you believe that fracking has major environmental concerns, that's your lookout, all right. But he's saying whatever it is, we will produce more and we'll put more on the market. We want the international price of oil comes down, because that is a major cause of the economic woes that the world is facing. And then, you know, interest rate, taxes, all that. So to me, these are positive developments. They are positive developments because I am more than sure. I mean, I sometimes try to persuade myself that, you know, let's stop being so sure. our consumption is going to grow up.
Yeah.
In the 3.5 years, or even not even 3.5 years exact, that I've been associated with the Petroleum and Natural Gas Ministry, Madam, our consumption of crude oil per day has gone up from 5 million to 5.5 million barrels. 500,000 barrel increase in 3 years. Now, somebody asked me this question, one of the S&P, one of the financial groups asked me, when do you think India's demand will peak? And I gave an answer which in retrospect was the correct answer. I said, listen, if you look at international estimates, I didn't tell him that, I'm telling you, so I'm giving you something on my, all of them say at least for 20 years. Even the most conservative analysis say that your oil demand will continue to grow till 2040. Many say it will go on to 2050. So I saw a reading of 5 estimates yesterday, all Western estimates. Yeah. Now, if your demand is going to grow up, you need that because energy is a lifeline of an economy, and you have a situation where your demand is going up, you've got availability, your E&P is going to grow up, grow in a very big way. I think this figure. Your companies are doing very well. Yesterday, BPCL, by the way, BPCL I always take special pride in. And even if their results hadn't been so good, 20%, well, this is a company some people wanted to sell earlier.
Yeah.
And 20% profit
so
on year on year, quarter on quarter.
So may I pose a question? And in connection with BPCL and what they overall, yes, drill baby drill, good, more supply, less prices, good for India. But specifically, as bumper as BPCL results were, no doubt about it.
HPCL is even better.
Is even better.
300% profit.
The one query that the street has is now what happens when we reduce our import of Russian crude, which came in at better margins. What happens to gross refining margins?
No, hold on. I would worry about gross refining margins. It's very legitimate. Because, look, it's, there are fascinating challenges. Yeah. Within my 4 or 5 companies, some of them are very happy when oil prices go up. They're very happy because they extract and export.
Of course.
Others have to import. So I think they've all learned that over a period of time, you rejoice in the success that you have now, but also prepare for another day. So that green transition is a very major element of them repositioning themselves. They're not the only ones doing it. The global companies are doing it too. If you look at the names have changed. Okay? Total is not Total Green. Doesn't mean that Total stops traditional fossil fuel or gas. Look, it's not just refining margins. There is also another very, very important development taking place. Your refining capacity is really growing. And growing, look at the figures. You have today about 260, 270 million metric tons per annum capacity. Madam, you're going to have 310, 320 in a short, because this is all contracted for. We're talking about a 80,000 crore investment in one of the southern states, which will have about 20 million metric tons per annum or thereabout. I'm saying your consumption is going up, your E&P is going up, your ability to navigate and access availability is on the increase because you've diversified your sources. Why have I given you this long-winded answer to your Russian thing?
Yes.
No, if I was sitting in your place and you were sitting here, I'd also be needling it. Look, the Russian imports were never a part of the Indian oil import scene. It only started in 2022.
Yes.
And why did it start in 2022? Because there was geopolitical turbulence, I'm choosing. It was followed by Russia-Ukraine, was followed by trouble in the Red Sea, the Houthis attacking people. So suddenly we found that a country which produced 13 million barrels a day decided that it was going to make energy available at some discount. Now, those discounts are also not what appears in the market, but a new source came on to being. A new source came on. Like Argentina's come on the scene as a new source.
So
can I just complete?
Of course.
Madam, what happens is, when our people, they have diversified there from 27 to 39, now with Argentina coming, it will be 40. So when February 22 happened, they suddenly found that there was another source which was available for import of crude. This is all that happened. Why is it easier for us? It's easier because we issue tenders for import at the point of importation. The point of importation, I want crude delivered in in Mumbai or in Dahej or in Visakhapatnam. I'm just giving you a random name. And so much quantity desired at such and such price. And people will float a tender. Now the issue is, who will respond to the tender? Somebody will quote a lesser price. Then they say, oh, hame shipping pe lag gaya, ye lag gaya. Arey bhai, they have to deliver at the point of this thing. Jisme bhi lag gaya. And I can tell you, this is my reading after 3.5 years of experience, that the world is going to fundamentally change in terms of energy.
Yeah.
We have a situation today, Guyana is supposed to be the big find. But what happened? You drill 16 times. By the way, drilling offshore is very expensive. I think it should cost several $100 million to drill a well offshore. They did 16, no success. 17th time, they struck gold, as it were, oil and gas. I think, and I'm very confident about that, that the actual Guyana, many Guyanas are waiting to be discovered even in the Andaman Sea, number one. Number two, look, it's not as if there is a switch, right? That I walk into this room and that light of yours, which is making this conversation possible, it's switched on and off. Everything has a wind-in period and it has a wind-out period. We are today on the 24th of January. These sanctions, which you call, first of all, they don't hit all the entities. There's no sanction on no Russian oil. But these have to wind down or wind in or kick in or whatever expression you want to do by 31st March, if I remember correctly. So, my answer to your question is, no need for any panic. I would say, I wouldn't even characterize this as anxiety. This is the world we live in. You sign term contracts, which means over an extended, long, predictable period of time. You also buy spot. This is a fascinating place. Sometimes the price in one market goes higher or lower than the other. I think India is very comfortably positioned. I saw some interviews by one of my colleagues, the oil company chairman, I think it was IOCL chairman in Davos, and he's saying the right thing, that we can navigate this.
Yeah.
Now what happens? If Russian oil, let us first of all, look, there's also a bit of leveraging going on the other end, between President Trump and this thing. He wants to bring the conflict to an end.
Yeah.
If the conflict comes to an end, in any case, the problem is solved. If the conflict doesn't come to an end, we'll see what is happening. Who will sell?
Do you think he can end the conflict?
I'm very sure.
Yeah.
I've always said that a conflict like this cannot be frozen in time. I mean, how long can you look at the enormous damage which is being done, the cost of it.
So let me specify, and you've explained this very well, sir, that India has a lot of sources. I think, and let me laser point it, the only quote-unquote concern, if at all, is that we had a source of relatively discounted crude for a certain period of time.
Not always.
Do we now have to pay more?
No, not at all. I see the international price coming down. I mean, I don't know. I don't predict. I'm not in the oil prediction business, and a lot of the oil prediction business is also people who you try to influence within quote the oil price. I mean, if there's a news item somewhere, suddenly Brent will shoot up or something else. I am confident that there is more than enough oil available in the world, number one. New sources are coming on the market, and even the existing sources, sometimes they give you more, sometimes they give you less discount. When the 22 February started, initially there was a spurt of imports from Russia. Then the Iraqis, if I remember correctly, turned around and said, no, we can supply. So it went up and down. It said, look, on an average you buy, say, 5 million barrels a day. And my sense then, when I just joined, was that it is about 800,000 barrels a day each from Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Iraq, and about another 800,000 from the rest. Then Russia came on the scene as a new player. Today we've got other people coming on the scene as a new player. Now, can I change the term of your analysis? We have an advantage. Today you don't have many buyers like India.
That is true.
That is absolutely true.
That is
now, so what happens? You are holding stocks.
This is a buyer's market right now.
I wouldn't go to that extent as saying. I would say that if you have there are a lot of buyers who don't have liquidity, who can't pay. who like there's a lot of demand for energy available in economies which have to take loans or are borrowing for their.
We have demand and we can pay.
Absolutely, and you have a fantastic track record. They're not that LCs are being opened and then money is being paid 1 month later, then people are cribbing. No, you deliver at the point of importation, your payment straight away. So we have two advantages very clearly. The economic activity has shifted here. So I'll tell you, and if you know those people who are in the international business also are very conscious of this factor. Why do you think companies are, Petrobras is collaborating with Oil India in offshore, seismic surveys in the Andaman Sea? BP is helping ONGC in Bombay High into rejuvenating those wells, which are, some of them are very old. Because this oil business is not a business of philanthropy or altruism.
No.
It's a money-making business,
yeah.
Okay? And a country like India, which is growing well, which has confidence, today, when you have India Energy Week, and I hope you'll be there, you will find that the number of people coming in at international prices to participate, that is an opportunity. So whether it is, first of all, conflicts don't continue forever. You've just seen that in the Middle East. Secondly, even if conflicts have to continue, you have to navigate around them. But I'm positive on all fronts. I think conflicts will wind down. The availability there, then you're dealing with particular grades of crude. I must come back. No, if you supply one grade of crude, 2-3 other people supply a grade of crude, sometimes you have to a little navigation.
So just one point of clarification, and for our understanding, because you have said that American crude is now also, an option that
we're already buying $20 billion.
Does it cost more to transport from America? Is it a pricier option? Can you just give us some clarity?
For instance, American gas is certainly cheaper, from what I can remember of it. But whoever is selling you the stuff, they will price it in such a way as to make it competitive. How is energy typically priced? There's a cost of the barrel at the point of production. You add insurance and freight. You add the exchange rate. Then you add the refining margin, dealer's commission, etc., etc. It's a very complex thing. But if you want to sell energy, you will price your source in a way that the price at the point of delivery is that. After he has to sell.
Yeah.
Now, you can have two competing philosophies. One is, I see in some of my friends who are traditional exporter, हम extract नहीं करेंगे, बेचेंगे नहीं, because ये पड़ा रहेगा, हमें पता और 20 साल इस्तेमाल होगा. That is a dangerous philosophy also.
Yeah.
Because it may so happen, and I've been telling some of the newer things, I said, your oil is coming on the market now. All right, you have tie-ups, etc. But, also be careful in another 20 years' time or another 15 years' time. People may already be locked into long-term term deals with others. So, I would say on all fronts, whether it is what is likely to happen as a result of decisions in the United States, I certainly see, I can't predict. I have been quoted to say that in addition to the 13 million barrels a day they're producing, they'll send another 1.5 million barrels onto the market. By when they will do it, I don't know. It could be 4 months, it could be 6 months. Some of those executive orders are taking shape and with global consequences. But more and more oil is coming on the market. Right. What will happen in the case of Russia? I personally believe some form of settlement will ultimately take place. The settlement will not be energy-centric, but energy will be majorly impacted by that. If you can find an end to the major conflict, and I think it's in everybody's interest.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then what happens? You should look at that scenario. Either case, we are cushioned.